It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. On what? .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday. You know the saying, right? Let's do it all together here. And over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Junebug Berry Muffins. Are they berries? Are they June bugs? Are they either? Taste and find out.
I'll let you taste and you can get back with me on that.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Starting here in the state of Wyoming, real quick, we do have a smoke alert for much of the state, or just basically for those people who have respiratory problems. It just keeps gathering. The two main fires that have been around Wyoming for a while, and these are up in mountain areas, as you know. Lots of timber up there. That's creating a lot of smoke. And the smoke is not being blown out. We don't have the winds that we usually have here in Wyoming. So it's just sitting there and gathering and gathering. That's what we're dealing with. So if you have respiratory problems, just be careful of that. We did have yesterday, friends of mine in Chugwater, Wyoming, started sending me pictures and video of a fire that happened. If you know Chugwater, the highway I-25 makes a turn. Let's say we're heading north. It makes a turn to the right and then back to the left again. Right? That turn to the right, go right across the highway from Chugwater. So it'd be on the north end. It was in that area that a fire was coming down. And they were sending me pictures and video as the fire department shows up with all sorts of equipment real fast. I mean, they jumped on this sucker and handled it real fast. So there's two stories. First off, fire threatens Chugwater was the first story I put up. The second story was that Chugwater is saved. And you can see the pictures and the video that they sent me, which is pretty impressive stuff because they got a close-up look about how our fire departments handle this. And I don't just mean the local fire department, of course. I mean, you know, the big boys that come in because they had planes flying over, dropping fire retardant. I mean, they brought out everything to stop this before it really got going, especially because it was moving down toward the town of Chugwater itself, which is not a very big town. Wouldn't take much to take it out, but that was stopped quickly, so we have that. Other than that, I was checking on the fires. The big one's the Elk Fire and the one over in Togety Pass on the west side of the state. And while there is more containment there, there's still a lot to deal with. And the good news is there is no wind. No wind means the fire is not being blown along so fast. The bad news is there is no wind, so that means the smoke just continues to build up. So keep you posted on that. It's still dry out there, very dry. I was just watching Don Day's extended forecast on YouTube, and we'll have day weather on. With the extended forecast at 6:45 and at 7:45, we'll have my usual live chat with day weather. But it just looks like we'll probably have to wait another week or more before we break the weather pattern that we're currently in. Now, on that note, so a couple of years ago, poor Miss Mary walks into the studio here early in the morning, and I'm looking at the ridiculously large television that they put in the studio with me. And I told you that I watch what's called Fox Raw, and it's a Fox News channel you can find. They have a few people on there that will tell you what they have going on, an occasional interview. But for the most part, it's multiple screens on the television as they just show, and here's what we're watching right now. So in the case of a big breaking story like the hurricane that's heading toward Florida right now, they just go, since it's going to be on the west coast of Florida, they just go to Tampa's Fox News 13, which is one of the best news crews in America, as far as I've been watching them for many years. They're very good. And they've all been there for a very long time. And I've been watching that. So the hurricane, first off, for those people who keep saying this is unprecedented, it is not. Remember, I grew up in this area. I'm used to this kind of stuff. The only thing that's unusual is they just had one storm, and then a week later, here comes another one. That's unusual. Other than that, it's been a rather quiet hurricane season, believe it or not. And the size of this storm is impressive. It worked its way up to a Category 5. They don't get any bigger than that. They can't. They blow themselves apart if they get bigger. If the storm attempts to get bigger than a Category 5, it will literally blow itself apart. So that can't happen. But still, it made it to Category 5, but it's already starting to weaken as it gets close to the coast. So we'll see when it gets to the coast. Is it a 3? We'll see. But that's still impactful, and there's a lot of storm surges pushing in front of it. Now, these things, when they move across, especially the Gulf of Mexico, but when they move across water in general, it's like, imagine you had a big kitchen table, and you took a spinning top, a kid's toy, right? And you spun it across the table from one end to the next. The odds are it's not going to make a nice line for you, even a nice curve if you try doing that. It's not going to do it. Because if you look at your kitchen table with a microscope, oh, look, there's a grain of salt somebody spilled. And there's little divots and so on in the wood. The wood's not perfect. And so that's going to make the top wobble as it goes across your kitchen table. So where exactly is it going to end up? You got a pretty good idea, but you're not going to know where it's going to wind up until it gets there, really. And that's the case with a hurricane. It's a big spinning top. It spins counterclockwise because it's a low-pressure system. And as it spins, I noticed, just like Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago, it suddenly made a little bit of they said southerly turn or right-hand turn. Its course is wobbling. And so I'm looking at my hometowns of Sanibel Captiva once again and thinking, oh, okay, here we go again. Now, last time Sanibel Captiva went through the eye of the storm with remember the strongest part of a storm, if you're looking down from a satellite, look at the right-hand side of the storm. That's the strongest point because it's pushing all the storm surge in front of it. So I think the eye of the storm crosses just above my hometowns in a town called Venice, Florida, somewhere in there, north of where I grew up. But that means the strongest storm surge might impact where I grew up once again. And they just got finished with cleanup from Ian 2 years ago. So here we go again. But let's see if it actually, either way, whether it hits in that area or not, that's very impactful for the entire region. So I've been watching, as you can imagine, all of this storm news for the past couple of days, and will be while this goes through where I grew up. And thank you to everybody who keeps asking, how's my family? My sister and her husband and my nieces, my oldest niece has 2 kids now. Everybody except my brother-in-law and my youngest niece, they decided, I guess, to stay and ride it out. But the rest of the family packed up, and they have friends in South Carolina. So they went all the way up into the top of South Carolina. So that's where they are right now. And they're perfectly fine. And their home is in Central Florida, not on the coastline like before. All right. Got a lot to talk to you about. We'll get through all of this. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get started for you today?
Yeah, can I just get a cheeseburger?
Okay, is that going to be offered today?
Yeah, it's going to be offered today.
All right, it's going to be $378.19.
Actually, I don't need the cheese. You can take the cheese off.
No cheese?
Yeah, let's do no cheese.
All right, that brings your total down to $312.17.
That sounds better.
All right, and are you going to be paying in full or will you be financing?
Yeah, I'll be financing today.
Okay.
Let's do the finance.
All right, and after interest, your total will be $61 a month for 6 months.
All right.
First window, please. Thank you.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Okay, here's a very different kind of a story for you. And it'll give you something today to sort of mull over in your mind. Glad Cowboy State Daily did the story, but it really got me thinking about some things. It's a story about Wyoming's highest paid administrator. Okay, he's stepping down. He's moving on to other things, but he had been making around $525,000. But hang on, because I think some of that's incentives. It's not all what you think, but that's a lot of money for an administrator in the state of Wyoming. How much do you think some of these jobs are worth? All right, so let's see what he does. Story says the highest paid government administrator in Wyoming makes more than $525,000 a year, and most people in Wyoming have likely never heard of him. He's Chief Investment Officer Patrick Fleming, who recently announced he'll step down at the end of June. According to the state auditor's office, Fleming made $529,959 in 2023, more than any other elected official for the department head of anywhere in the state. After tax deductions, Fleming's take-home was $367,770. Wow, that's a lot of money to take out. And we don't even have a state income tax. Yes, our taxes are way too high and government's way out of control, but okay. The only Wyoming state employee making more than Fleming in 2023 involved University of Wyoming athletics, the football coach. Now, some people might take a look at football coach or coaches. Well, why are we spending so much money on coaches? Well, because football, for example, at UW, brings in a lot of money. A lot of money. I've heard people complain before, why are all these football coaches for colleges making so much money? Look at how much money they bring in to the university. So that would make them worth that much money when you think about it in that sense. Okay. As Chief Investment Officer, Fleming is responsible for managing the state's more than $30 billion worth of non-pension assets. In a statement, Fleming said he's looking forward to spending more time with his family and friends, and he said he really enjoyed his work and was proud of it, and he did good for us. In the state of Wyoming, as far as investments and so on, he did a good job. Since joining the state in 2024, Fleming helped grow, the story says, Wyoming's sovereign wealth fund from $19.5 billion to more than $30 billion. So you see what I mean by he's done well for us. State Treasurer Kurt Meyer highlighted Fleming's record in a press release and announcement, talked about what a good job he's done. Chief Investment Officer for the Wyoming Retirement System made only $440 less than Fleming, but again, this is someone who's in charge of taking care of these investments, and they've done a really good job with it. Meyer told Cowboy State Daily Fleming made his biggest impact in the mentorship of his staff during that time. So in other words, raising people up that could do what he did. Governor Mark Gordon worked directly with Fleming when the governor was state treasurer. Also commended Fleming's unwavering, and what a good job he's done. Okay, so State Representative Liz Storer, I think is how I pronounce it, Democrat Jackson, member of the Select Committee on Capital Financing and Investments, which had been critical at times of the state's investment decisions, said Fleming's pay is somewhat competitive when compared to what's offered in the investment industry. So in other words, you want a guy like this, he could go work for the private sector and he would make a lot more money. Okay, now, his base salary, his base salary is $275,000, a little bit above that. Then he gets performance compensation. So in other words, if he does well for us in the state of Wyoming, he gets bonuses, incentives to do well for us. So that's why he made the money that he did. So just a thought experiment for you. If we want someone, this is our money, as taxpayers, this is our money, to hire someone who can take us from $19 billion in state investments. That's how much the state of Wyoming has in investments. That's our rainy day fund, among other things. To take us from $19 billion to $30 billion. would he then be worth to you $575,000 a year? Okay, if you're wondering what I think, my answer is I think he is at that point, if he's doing that well. Hello, Steve. Steve's in Casper. The biggest investment he had done for the state pension to BlackRock. Mike from the video stream in lead, according to the AP, Waffle House in Tampa, St. Petersburg are closed. Oh, my God. Yeah, if they have closed a Waffle, I will talk about that next. If they have closed a Waffle House, then you know it's bad. Let's see. Jim is saying, elected official, have you ever voted for that position? I'd like to know how the guy does get his job, but let me ask you, though. He took us from $19 billion to $30 billion. So do you think then he's worth $575,000 a year? Because, again, that's with bonuses for doing so well. Kim and Casper, you're absolutely right about Fox 13 Tampa Bay. They are the best. Watched them for many years before we moved here in 2000. Yeah, I miss them too. And I still tune into them from time to time. I think one of the best news organizations in America is Fox 13 out of Tampa. And most of their staff has been on the air for many decades too. All right, coming up on local news, update on your weather forecast. Then we'll talk about that Waffle House because that's important. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So as you know, I'm watching the hurricane that's heading toward Florida right now. And yes, my family has evacuated the area. My brother-in-law hangs behind at the house in Lake Wales. And I think my youngest niece might be with him. But the rest of the family, they grabbed everything, kids, all that kind of stuff, and went up to South Carolina where they have friends in the upper part of South Carolina. So they're out of the way. That's good. And my brother-in-law's way inland in a town called Lake Wales, and he ought to be okay there. But still, this is a very impactful storm. So, Mike, yes, I didn't know that. You absolutely nailed it. There's actually a metric that is used, believe it or not. How bad was the impact of whatever the disaster was? Fires, flood, earthquakes, name it, whatever. Do they have a Waffle House in that town? Okay. Is the Waffle House still open? Because Waffle House doesn't close for anything. I mean, really, they don't. They will stay open. And it's good that they do because there are people who need to eat, and that includes emergency officials, but people also who just got stranded or stuck somewhere. But the Waffle House, damn it, it's still open. That is actually a metric that is used. So, Mike says, according to AP, Waffle House in Tampa, St. Petersburg are closed due to the storm. Now, that's bad. Let's see. So I'm going to type in storm. There we go. The Waffle House Storm Index is what this is called. This is actually something that even FEMA looks into to find out how bad something is. And the story says, when a hurricane makes landfall, the head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency relies on a couple of metrics to assess the destructive power. First is the well-known Saffir-Simpson wind scale, and then the other one called the Waffle House Index. And what they mean is how much danger is there in an area. Waffle House will assess it. Waffle House has 1,600 restaurants across the mid-Atlantic, Florida Gulf Coast, leaving it particularly vulnerable to hurricanes, Florida's. Other businesses, of course, strive to reopen as quickly as possible during a disaster. Waffle House, which spends almost nothing on advertising. They really don't advertise at all. I mean, they have very little advertising for any Waffle House. People just know them. Built marketing strategy around the goodwill gained for being open when people are most desperate and helping them out. During Hurricane Irene, Waffle House lost power to 22 restaurants in North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. By Wednesday evening, all but one hit coastal Virginia, all but one back in business. And they just did it that fast. Hurricane Irene knocked out power to Weldon, North Carolina Saturday evening. The sun rose on the tobacco farming town at 6:30 the next morning, and by God, the Waffle House was there. Biscuits and gravy and grits and everything ready to go. Scattered, smothered, and covered. If you know what that means, if you do, you've been to a Waffle House. Sometimes I would order my eggs that way just to hear them say scattered, smothered, and covered. Waffle House, privately held company, is suburban Atlanta, maybe best known as a roadside stop for retirees driving around south. Kid Rock got into a brawl there after a 2007 concert. If you want to have some fun, dangerous fun, go there at like 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars close and watch what shows up. It's a yellow and black. The whole look of the place hasn't changed in years. Okay. So the company fully embraced its disaster business strategy after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. 7 of its restaurants were destroyed, and 100 more were shut down. But those that reopened quickly were swamped with customers because, again, no matter what, people need to eat. The company decided to beef up its crisis management process. Senior executives developed a manual for opening after a disaster. And they bulked up on portable generators and whatever else they needed. Not just to keep the restaurant intact, but the employees as well. Because, you can have the restaurant survive it, but did the employees survive it? Well, by God, if you work for that, there's something for you. If you live in an area that's like a hurricane zone, get a job at a Waffle House. You have a better chance of survival because the company will take care of you. In a recent academic paper, a business school professor at the University of St. Louis pegged Waffle House as one of the big top 4 companies for disaster response. Another big company, by the way, for disaster response is Walmart, for example. As much as people will try to pick on Walmart and Home Depot, whenever a disaster strikes, who are the 2 companies that are there first with stuff? Not throwing money at the problem, not throwing bureaucracy, but just showing up with truckloads of stuff that people need. Walmart, Home Depot are the 2 big ones. And they do a far better job than any other government agency ever could. So if you want to know how bad was the storm, just don't listen to your politicians or bureaucrats. Watch Walmart, watch Kmart, and watch Waffle House. Then you'll know. 642, Wake Up Wyoming.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Community and around the globe are bringing life-changing healing and hope to the forgotten poor. To learn how you too can help change the world, one child at a time, go to mercyships.org today.
.649 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So to answer your question, Frank, I'll be down in Cheyenne on Friday.
Okay.
Now.
This is what is today?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, so we're going over the hump here. All right, now.
I've lost track.
That's okay. That's fine. Both you and I need vacations, and we will take them.
Yeah.
All right, now, since we have an under smoke alert going on, all this smoke is gathering from Wyoming fires. And
you know what? In Casper, it was clear yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw blue sky for the first time in days.
Yeah, because my eyes, I guess it depends on what part of the day you're talking about, because when I left here, which I do early in the morning, my eyes were just in my sinuses. Oh, it was horrible.
I would say 3 o'clock between 1 and 5.
Yeah,
1 and 4:30.
Cleared out for me.
Yeah,
currently, until about 1 o'clock this afternoon in that area, well, for most of the state, there's another smoke alert because the wind's not blowing it away. All right, so I put up a post. So while you're driving down the road and your eyes are watering, you can sing along to Deep Purple Smoke on the Water.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
yes.
there's one right there.
If Deep Purple doesn't sing it, Smokey Robinson can.
Oh, I do have at the bottom of my list is anything by Smokey Robinson.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything. Okay. Smoke is Maddie and Tay is a couple of country singers, ladies duo, and they have a beautiful song about smoke. Oh, Willie Nelson, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one, yeah. Secondhand Smoke by Kalisa. I can't pronounce her last name. It's a very nice song. Casey Musgraves, Blowin' Smoke.
Okay.
See, now you don't worry about the rest of the song. You just need the chorus.
Yeah.
That's all you need, yeah.
It's all people do around here is blow smoke. You know?
This one, it's not about the smoke, but it's okay. Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah.
Because we didn't.
True.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and sing that one there. And again, anything by Smokey Robinson is fine. And then finally, from way back in 1947, Tex Williams, Smoke, Smoke, Smoke That Cigarette.
There you go. And then if you want to watch a movie, you can watch Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
Hey, I hadn't thought about that one. I should add it to the list.
All righty, and high school football coming up on Friday. It's the 60th Oil Bowl as the Trotem will travel across town to Kelly Walsh and Casper. It'll be a 6 p.m. start at the Harry Galdine Stadium. Both teams are 3-3. Capital Bowl coming up on Friday. Cheyenne Central at 1-5 will be at Cheyenne East, who comes in at 5-1. Campbell County at 6-0 will host Thunder Basin at 2-4 on Friday. Also in 4A, Rock Springs will be on the road at Sheridan. Sheridan is 6-0. Rock Springs 3-3 in 4A, and Laramie at 1-5 will be over the summit to go over to Cheyenne South to meet the Bison, who are 0-6. In 2A coming up on Friday, Bighorn, the number 2 rated team, will be in Glen Rock, and Burns will host Upton Sundance in 1A 9-man on Friday. 3rd rated Saratoga will be at 2nd rated Pine Bluffs, and in 1A 6-man on Friday, Meeteetse will be at KC in the afternoon. Then on Saturday, Midwest will be at Riverton. Wyoming Cowboy football team will host San Diego State on Saturday afternoon in Laramie. The Pokes are 1-4 overall and 1-0 in Mountain West Conference play after a win over the Air Force 2 weeks ago, so they're coming off their bye week. San Diego State is 2-3 on the year, and they were really not scaring anybody. They did beat Hawaii last week 27-24, but prior to that, they lost to Oregon State 21-0. They lost to Cal 31-10. Then they lost to Central Michigan, 22-21. The Aztecs are a 1.5 favorites in the game. That's a 1:30 kickoff from War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. Major League Baseball playoffs yesterday. First in the National League, San Diego at 6 runs in the second inning to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 6-5. So the Padres lead that series 2-1. Game 4 will be tonight at 7 p.m. Also in the National League, the New York Mets over Philadelphia 7-2. So the Mets lead that series 2-1. This is a best-of-5 deal, and Game 4 will be this afternoon at 3. In the American League, Cleveland will be at Detroit with that series even at a game apiece. That'll start at 1 p.m. And then the New York Yankees will be at Kansas City, and that series is even at a game apiece. That will start at 5 p.m. College volleyball at the Division I level. The Wyoming Cowgirls lost to Colorado State yesterday in 4 sets, 23-25, 25-17, 25-20, 25-21. Cowgirls are 9-6 overall, 1-4 in Mountain West play. They'll host San Diego State on Saturday. Casper College volleyball team, they're 5-18 on the year after a 3-2 win over Central Wyoming and a 3-0 win over Gillette College. They'll take on LCCC on Friday in Casper. L Trip is 8-14. They beat Central on Friday and also beat Northwest of Powell on Saturday.
So, first off, that spider in the hallway that drops finally scared someone. Now that Sean's back, I'm glad I got him.
Good, yeah. You had to get him, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then...
scared me, and I knew it was coming.
Well, yeah, and it was because Drew's door closed and dropped the spider. That made a bang sound. So that's it. Also, I energized the candy bowl with all sorts of new treats.
Excellent.
So this is different stuff than was in there before, which disappeared, I noticed, quickly.
Well, we're wolves around here.
I guess so, and that's fine by me, Frank. Yeah. Thank you. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Junebug Berry Muffins. Are they berries? Are they June bugs? Are they either? Taste and find out.
I don't know. You had me a berry muffin.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
I'm really lousy with names, but hello to Ruben, who's over in Scotts Bluff. And I remember the name Ruben because if I go to a restaurant and they have Ruben on the menu, I order it because I'm really picky and judgmental about Rubens because it's one of my favorite sandwiches. So hello, Ruben. I'll remember your name anyway. Clark is in Casper. Good morning, Clark.
Well, Glenn, love your show. I was a member of the school board for 2 years ago. For 8 years I served.
Okay.
I just want to if I could make a comment on a couple of things you talked about yesterday.
Absolutely,
I tried to call
go ahead.
yesterday, but wasn't able to get through.
Okay.
Number one, on the sale of properties, the school district has done that, but there's a couple of problems with selling empty properties. Number one, you don't tend to generate very much money from it. It'll only generate as much money as the market will bear, and oftentimes there's not very many buyers.
Okay.
But the second issue about the sale of properties is you can't always predict how many students you're going to have in the district, and so enrollment goes up and down. And so if you have a property that's empty and then your enrollment goes up and you need a property, you can't just build a new building,
Right.
which is really expensive. So, we've done some of that. This district has sold some properties. It's not a very significant amount of money that's generated.
Okay.
So just wanted to educate public a little bit about that one. But the bigger issue to me is the Department of Education. It seems to me that our local school district has their hands tied oftentimes because of federal law. And so there's quite a number of students who are labeled as having disability or special needs, and their behavior can be outrageous, and there's almost nothing that the local districts can do, and that tends to fall on the shoulders of the teacher. And so our teachers are feeling like, I have no power in the classroom. Well, I probably shouldn't speak for all the teachers, but some teachers do feel that. They feel like they're not being supported, they're not being heard, and so if you've got a disruptive student or group of students and you can't discipline in any way, that's really difficult. And it's not a local thing as much as it's a federal problem. And so I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Why do you think that we have our hands so tied by, 'cause my guess all this time, a bit of an educated guess anyway, is that states, not just Wyoming, but other states, get so much education money from the federal government, and that education money comes with strings attached. And the bureaucracy on the federal level just keeps getting bigger, more out of control, to the point that local schools can't do what they think is right.
I totally agree with what you just said.
Okay.
I think that's absolutely true. I just heard I can't pronounce his name, Ramaswamy, I think is his
Right.
name,
Yeah.
talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, and I totally agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, and of course, you do that and people in Washington, D.C. scream bloody murder. But since we've had the Department of Education and we've dumped a lot of money into it, I don't see scores and the number of people who stay in school all the way through. I don't see that going up. I see all of that getting worse. And so I blame, in large part, the Department of Education for it, and would rather we just left it to the local level rather than some federal plan that obviously isn't working.
I agree. So
Okay.
if you have local control and you have a bad program, you've got a bad something or other, you can address it. But when
Right.
the federal government is making the rules, what do you do?
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Clark. I do appreciate it. So this is a conversation we were having yesterday that he wanted to comment on. which had to do with how much our teachers get paid in Wyoming, which I'm all for a competitive salary because it's difficult to get people who want to come to some of Wyoming's rural towns and teach. And then they get, just to live out in a rural area, it's not for everybody. Really, it isn't. You got to be a kind of person who wants to do that. Then, to make sure they have competitive pay and salary, because they have to think about their future like everybody else. To me, in Wyoming, we are really top-heavy administrative-wise, and we don't need to build expensive buildings because the expensive building does not teach the kid. Even when I know we're really into our high school sports. Take a look at what Frank Gambino does. It's incredibly popular across the state, what Frank does. In Wyoming, people love their high school sports, and I get it. But remember now, you're spending a lot of money on that. A lot of money on that. So were it up to me, I would downsize a lot, not in the classroom, no, because that's where money needs to be spent on the teacher. And also remember, throwing money at a problem doesn't solve the problem. You want good quality people. Yes, you got to pay for that. We could use a lot less administrators and a lot less rules coming from the federal government, too, which is also why I'm in favor of charter schools, yeah, but they also get a lot of federal money. But private schools, homeschooling, I'm much more in favor of that because it gets out of all of that federal funding down to the individual student that can be focused on. And I've noticed, and I can say this because don't you dare tell my sister that I say anything nice about her. Don't you do it. I'm not going to hold that over my head. But my sister was looking at schools in Florida and just decided that, no, they're just, for various reasons, not a good atmosphere. So she decided to homeschool. They looked at, her and her husband looked at private schools that can be expensive. They decided to homeschool. So my sister became a teacher, and they homeschooled the kids right there and did a remarkably good job. And I find the best students, in fact, some of our major universities around the country, find that oftentimes the best students came from homeschooling, which means instead of learning at a big school with all the bells and whistles and all of the administrative work and all of the big football stadiums and all this other stuff they spend money on, these kids were learning around the kitchen table. And they end up becoming much better, not just students, but citizens, better at all of it, than kids that came out of most public schools. That's what we were talking about yesterday. I got some other things I want to come up with as the next segment of the program, including something that's not being discussed in our federal election, which is national debt. But you can do what our last caller just did and interrupt me if you want. 888-97-WOODS is the phone number.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs. Amen.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I'm just doing a real quick check here, and then I'll get on to the topic that I had lined up for you. So, Chugwater, Wyoming, I like that little town. I go through, every time I drive up and down I-25, I have to stop at the soda fountain and get a burger there and over to the Chugwater Mercantile. So friends of mine in Chugwater started sending me pictures yesterday, and you can take a look at these pictures. There's two stories. I would suggest go to the second one, Close Call, Chugwater Saved from Fire. Because they sent me pictures picture the, over the highway north side of town, fire comes down off of the bluffs. And they don't know what started it, but fire comes down off of the bluffs. And it was moving pretty fast. It was grass fire. It was burning pretty high, too. So they're sending me pictures and video of firefighters that showed up, including, air, dropping fire retardant and ground as well. All out of salt to stop it before it got to the town, and they did. But it's some really impressive pictures they sent me, and I was putting the story up as it was happening. So here I am typing as fast as I can. They would send me another picture, another video, and I would put that in there, and so I got the two up there. So thanks to everybody who saved Chugwater and all the people that I know there who were sending me pictures and video while it was happening. I got it. Before I get onto it, because I named this. Josh is one of the co-owners of the Chugwater Mercantile, and he and I were sending notes back and forth. Let me find him again here. Because as the fire, Josh Walker's his name, and as he was, Josh Hopkins is his name, Walker. Walker came up first. Sorry, Josh. I know several Joshes. Josh Hopkins, there we go. So I just want to go back to what we named it. Okay. So the last thing I said to him yesterday, and it shall be known from here on out as the battle for Chugwater. And he writes, and it was a glorious victory. Yes, it was. So that was the battle for Chugwater yesterday, and it did get kind of close at some point. All right, now, let me jump over to the national election scene, just something to keep in everybody's mind as we get closer to Election Day. There's one topic which has barely been touched on by any news reporter. Trump has mentioned it a few times. Neither Biden or Harris have mentioned it at all, and that's our national debt.
So what's the matter, Senator? Flushing all that taxpayer money down the toilet, clogging up the drain again?
And how? And nothing works when the money don't flow.
And I bet flushing all that Chinese money really clogs the pipes.
Oh, with interest. Yeah, Chinese money's the worst.
Well, Senator, to keep that money flowing, why not try this new pipe cleaner? It's called Debt Bomb.
Debt Bomb?
Yes, Debt Bomb, Senator. With all the pressure building up in the pipes from all that money you're flushing down the toilet, well, there's just simply no flow. You need something to clear the clog. But don't worry, the pressure will eventually build up that you can just shove Debt Bomb into the toilet and everything blows sky high.
Yee-haw! Look at it go.
Why, there's nothing left. No, Senator, there's nothing. No economy, no country, nothing.
Well, you say that like it's a bad thing.
Endorsed by governments worldwide. It's inevitable. Debt Bomb.
So let me see. We are now borrowing $5 billion a day. Wow. Now, there's the debt and there's the deficit. Okay. National debt is well over $32 trillion, including unfunded liabilities and so on and so on. We're well over $200 trillion. We are borrowing money. You've heard me say this before. We are borrowing money to pay the interest. Now, the deficit is the year-by-year deficit. How short are we year by year? We are now about $2 trillion a year in the hole. Add that to your national debt. And we're borrowing about $5 billion a day. And I do blame both parties for this. Both sides will try to say, well, we are deficit hawks. Wait, no, you're not. And it's way out of control. And there's really nobody in Washington, very few people in Washington, D.C. who even get it. Story I have in front of me says U.S. annual deficit nearing $2 trillion for each fiscal year, almost double the record deficits before COVID-19. The federal government is now borrowing about $5 billion a day. U.S. congressional budget reports that the federal deficit is an estimated $1.8 billion in fiscal year 2024, and growing, by the way. So they will hit $2 trillion a year real soon. The troubling deficit comes as national debt continues to soar, drawing closer to, it says $36 trillion, but again, unfunded liabilities, all of that. Blow that way out of the water. Within the next dozen years, 3 major funds for highways, Medicare, Social Security will run out of reserves, forcing us to reckon even tougher decisions on how to keep important government priorities afloat. Okay, so how would you handle this then? This is a topic that I take a look at for this election cycle, which I think should be, I would say, one of the biggest topics that we have. I mean, one of the most important conversations that we have in this election cycle. And yet, I've heard Trump mention it a few times, but even he increased the debt and deficit while he was in office. Biden came in and just totally outdid him. I mean, honestly speaking, we haven't had a president in our lifetimes that's actually handled the national debt. They've all exploded, and so have every Congress, both Democrat and Republican. And if we don't deal with this soon, then we become like the Weimar Republic. And if you want to know how bad that was, look up the Weimar Republic. Or Zimbabwe. I was given as a gift by a listener, I have a $100 trillion bill from Zimbabwe. $100 trillion bill, and it was completely useless. That's what happens to our money if we don't do something about it.
With all economic factors indicating the U.S. is heading for a prolonged recession, some experts are suggesting that the government should stop dumping all of our money into an enormous hole. Is it time to close the national money hole?
That kind of talk is alarmist and irresponsible.
America needs the money hole.
Right. Driving truckloads of money out into the New Mexico desert and dumping it into a massive pit is one of America's greatest traditions.
It's a national treasure.
Look, no reasonable person is advocating that we are going to stop destroying money. But the American people earn that money. They have the right to decide how it should be destroyed.
You are in favor of personal money holes?
Yes, people should be able to dump money into a hole in their backyard or flush it down the toilet. Let the free market decide the most efficient way of destroying money.
My father worked 2 jobs so he'd have money to put in the money hole, and he never complained.
Now, you can't depend on private money holes to destroy that money.
Duncan's right. I mean, some of this money could blow away.
Yes.
Some of it may not be correctly buried. I mean, there's too many variables.
That's why the government pours gasoline into the money hole and lights it on fire to make sure all the money is destroyed.
I love the money fire.
It's just like they say, you have to throw money in a hole and set it on fire to make money.
Okay, but find the cheapest way to destroy that money, like shredding it up and feeding it to hogs.
Tell that to the digger who's worked the graveyard shift for 20 years. Digging the hole is all he knows.
The sheer number of shovelers that it takes to maintain that hole.
But if we're talking about closing holes, I mean, what about the soldier hole? How about the energy hole? I mean, I can't believe that closing the money hole is even on the table.
Why are you pushing this pro-hole agenda? Is the money hole lobby paying you?
I resent that accusation. I do not take money from special interests, and if I did, I would throw it right in the hole because I am a patriot.
If you love America, you throw money in its hole.
That last lady you just heard right there, she's my favorite one in this whole bit. I just absolutely love her. I love the money fires, and she's just phenomenally good. But okay, that I think perfectly illustrates the insanity in Washington, D.C. with our national debt, and they act like they can't run out of money. In fact, people in D.C. will even actually say to you, we can't go broke, we can just print more money. Meaning they don't know what money is. Coming up on already 7:30. Local news coming your way after local news, update on your weather forecast, and you and I get rolling back into it. 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. We got an extended forecast with day weather coming up at 7:45, which doesn't change a whole lot, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll talk about that. Wake up, Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me with the smoke forecast along with other weather-related issues. 7:45, just a few minutes away. Day Weather is going to join us. Don Watzel's in. Don Day's out of town. He's down south of us at another balloon festival thing. And he is a balloonist, in case you didn't know. Don Day is a hot air balloonist. But oftentimes he's called in to do events like this when it involves ballooning, especially high stratosphere stuff, because he's an expert in it, literally a world-renowned expert, and he's a Wyoming guy. So, real quick, this just came up in front of me as a meme. I'll just read this and toss it aside. It's a picture of Chuck Norris sitting in the living room, and Chuck Norris has a bear rug. It says, Chuck Norris has a grizzly bear rug in his living room. It's not dead. It's just too scared to move. Yeah, I can believe that. Okay. So, all right. Let's get back to national politics here, because I was talking about the national debt just a little while ago and how people don't understand, especially in Washington, D.C., how money even works. Well, here's Waltz running for the vice presidential position, and he says he's advocating for an elimination of the Electoral College and replacing it with the popular vote, which shows that he doesn't understand how our Constitution works, although I would suspect that he wants to get rid of the Constitution too, but let's read. Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz on Tuesday pushed for the elimination of the Electoral College during a campaign stop in California and suggested replacing it with just a popular vote. We could do that if we were a democracy, by the way, but we're not. Democrats have advocated for getting rid of the Electoral College in the past, including Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton lost the presidency to Donald Trump. Talks about that. Waltz told reporters at an event in California with Governor Gavin Newsom that he and the governor have discussed the topic, but that he remains focused on winning this vice presidential election. He says, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. Well, all of us don't know that. There's a reason why not. Again, we are not this would be centralized control of our government, by the way, which is a dangerous thing. And that's what folks like Waltz would like to see. The federal government being the strongest form of government, and all the states fall in line underneath it, and all your counties fall underneath that, and your cities fall underneath that, which is what they would like to see. The way we're actually set up is your strongest local government is your strongest government, and it gets weaker as it moves out. The federal government is just supposed to be there as where we meet to handle the common business of the people. But essentially, we are 50 separate countries in a giant cooperative. And by the way, your president is not supposed to be your leader. I often hear how, in fact, John Kerry just recently said that it's very difficult to govern these days. Well, there, I think, is part of the problem, is that politicians think they're supposed to be governing us, running us, leading us. You're supposed to be a free person in a free country. Your life is yours. Government's job is to protect that. Not to tell you what to do, not to provide for you. Okay? You get to make your own decisions. Good, bad, or ugly, you make your own decisions. And government's job is to protect that. We're a nation of individuals, not to be run or governed. And majority doesn't rule, by the way. That's the next big thing, because if we were a democracy, majority rules. But as a republic, no. The only person in charge of you is you, not the government. So the idea that, well, we're supposed to have a centralized government and overseen by popular vote, because democracy and majority rules, but that's not how America works. Yet the number of people that I come across who oftentimes will say, well, majority rules, not in America, because we're not a democracy. We are a republic. There's a big difference. And they would know this if they were taught this properly in school. So someone like Tim Waltz, who had said, I'd love to get rid of the Electoral College, yes, because he would like to have a central government that is in control of the people. By the way, he loves that idea of majority rules until the majority disagrees with him. Then watch him change his mind about that. I've seen that many times before. I've met many times people who love the idea of majority rules, as long as the majority is controlled by them and the majority agrees with them. The moment that changes, suddenly they want something else. So here's a guy he's already a governor. He's running for vice president, and he has no concept of the American form of government and how things are actually supposed to work in this country. Just wanted to point that out, but I think you already know how bad this guy is. Although I love it when he talks, especially during that last debate he was in. I just love watching those insane eyes. So I wonder if the people of his state are getting a better idea of what they actually elected as governor, now that they can see it for real.
Why are you crying?
Because I don't want to be an adult.
You don't want to be an adult? I cry about that a lot too. Why don't you want to be an adult?
Because it's not fun. It's gonna be not fun. It's like a prison being an adult.
It is like a prison being an adult.
Come on, B. I don't want to be an adult. I don't even want to be a teenager. I just want to be a kid.
Me too. Can I be a kid?
No.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Wake Up Wyoming, off we go to talk to Don Watzel. Day weather. Okay, we have another smoke alert out there. All of the smoke is being generated. It's not going anywhere.
No, when you have light winds, it really doesn't have a chance to move much. It gets transported from the winds aloft, and then when they mix down to the surface, it just kind of hits a stalemate. And fortunately, central areas around the Wind River Basin, Lander, Riverton, DuBois to Casper, and north to Sheridan, Buffalo, and along I-90 got those air quality alerts through at least the afternoon.
Any chance of that wind picking up anytime soon?
Well, we could get some spotty breezes, maybe eastern areas near the Black Hills this afternoon. Some central and southern areas could get a brisk wind, maybe 10 to 20. Not typical for Wyoming getting into this time of year. So, that chance doesn't really look too promising.
No, and then the same thing with the chance of rain. That doesn't look too promising either, at least for a while anyway.
Yeah, we're still talking probably at least a week. And then once we get past next Wednesday, looks like the current forecast guidance is suggesting that western areas, your mountains and valleys, Teton Pass around Jackson, could finally get some showers late next week, and that chance may spread eastward towards the end of the week. But until then, we just kind of have to you kind of keep it day to day.
Now, I'm also noticing in the forecast as we look out a little bit, temperatures, while they have been on, I'm going to call it the mild side, that changes a little bit too.
That does, and it's actually a bigger change that we get to talk about here. We do see what we call a backdoor front. It's part of a trough that will originate around the Great Lakes and kind of expand westward, starting possibly Sunday night, more so into Monday and Tuesday. And while it should arrive dry still, it is going to drop our temps. That may mean we get to feel like fall a little bit. Temps 50s and 60s, and overnight lows could be conducive to some widespread frost on the plains.
Wow. Okay, we haven't had frost in a while. Been waiting on that.
Yeah, we're talking lows. When you get down to that 34, 33 degree range, we are looking at that early next week, Monday night and Tuesday night. Some areas might even drop into the upper 20s. So if that holds, we could see that scenario playing out, and we'll just see what the next couple days bring.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don is with day weather, and okay. Just nothing has changed for a while there. I was trying to find something. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I would assume that your cat's an indoor cat.
And totally.
Yeah, okay. Mine, I've had cats before, and I've always allowed them to kind of come and go as they please, leaving like a window cracked or something like that so they can have an outdoor life, too.
Yeah.
But you got to live in the right place for that.
Right, yeah.
And then you got to watch out to make sure your cat is not a thief.
Is this stealing someone else's food?
Well, worse than this. There is a woman who put up what looks like a clothesline in her front yard. And from the clothesline, she has hung all sorts of things, mostly gloves, like work gloves and so on. But many other items, they all seem to be made out of some kind of material. So the cat likes to steal material.
Okay.
Then she put up a big sign, very well drawn. It was hand-drawn, very well drawn. My cat is a thief. And there's a drawing of her cat with a glove in its mouth.
Aha.
Please take these items if they are yours.
So where is the cat taking them?
Back home. So what the cat does
is...
Oh,
that's not her cat.
The cat, it is her cat. And the cat will go out around the neighborhood and look for somebody that has maybe a garage door open, something like that. Go in, find a pair of work gloves. That seems to be the favorite thing. Drag those home. Don't know why the cat wants to collect work gloves. And then just take it into the house where it turns the owner of the house found the cat has a hidden collection of work gloves. So the cat is a kleptomaniac preferring people's work gloves.
Okay, so the cat steals the gloves.
Yes, takes them
The
home.
lady washes the gloves and puts them on the clothesline.
And puts up a sign that says, come take your gloves.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Now, somebody's got to have a talk with the cat, but you own a cat.
There's no...
No, there's no talking to the cat.
None of that,
There's no convincing the cat, otherwise...
There's no negotiation or diplomacy.
Whatsoever.
Maybe a little bit of diplomacy, but nothing after that.
The only thing I would say maybe is if you could spray something on your gloves that the cat doesn't like the taste of.
Maybe all these people have catnip on their gloves.
Maybe that would be it, yeah. Now, there's a question you raised. I'm not going to get into deep detail, but I always kind of wondered, cats that have never seen catnip before, you put that catnip in front, and it knows.
Yeah.
It knows exactly what that is. And somehow they mysteriously pull out a pair of rolling papers and just go to work on the thing. I'm not sure.
How does that work? Yeah. All right, and high school football coming up on Friday. It's the 60th annual Oil Bowl in Casper, as Natrona will be at Kelly Walsh. Both teams are 3-3. Down in Cheyenne on Friday, it's the Capital Bowl, as Cheyenne East will host Cheyenne Central. East comes in at 5-1. and Central is 1-5. Campbell County will take on their rival Thunder Basin and Gillette. So it'll be Campbell County comes in at 6-0, Thunder Basin 2-4. Rock Springs will be on the road at Sheridan. Sheridan is 6-0 and Rock Springs 3-3. And Laramie at 1-5 will be at 0-6 Cheyenne South. In 2A football coming up on Friday, Bighorn rated number 2 in that classification will be at Glenrock, and Burns will host Upton Sundance. And 1A 9-man football, Saratoga, the number 3 team, will be at number 2 Pine Bluffs on Friday. In 6-man football, Meeteetse will be at KC at 1 p.m. And then on Saturday in 6-man football, Midwest will be at Riverside. Wyoming Cowboy football team will take on San Diego State on Saturday afternoon in Laramie. The Aztecs are 2-3 on the year, and they really don't scare very many people. They did beat Hawaii last week, 27-24, but lost to Oregon State 21-0, lost to Cal 31-10, and lost to Central Michigan 22-21. So this is a winnable game for the Cowboys, absolutely. Even though the Pokes are 1-4, but they're 1-0 in Mountain West play after beating the Air Force 2 weeks ago in their Mountain West opener. That'll be a 1:30 kickoff from Laramie on Saturday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In Major League Baseball, the playoffs moving along. Yesterday in the National League, San Diego beat Los Angeles 6-5 with 6 runs in the second inning. So the Padres lead that series 2-1, and Game 4 will be tonight at 7 p.m. The New York Mets beat Philadelphia 7-2, also in the National League. So the Mets lead that series 2-1. Game 4 will be at 3 this afternoon. In the American League, in these best-of-5 series, Cleveland will take on Detroit with the series even at 1 game apiece, and the New York Yankees will be at Kansas City, and that series is even at 1 game apiece. In Division I college volleyball, Wyoming Cowgirls lost to Colorado State yesterday, 23-25, 25-17, 25-20, and 25-21. The Cowgirls were 9-6 overall, 1-4 in Mountain West play. They'll host San Diego State on Saturday. Casper College volleyball team at the junior college level, 5-18, with a loss to Central Wyoming back on Thursday and a win over Gillette College on Saturday. They will host LCCC from Cheyenne on Friday. L-Trip is 8-14 on the year. They beat Central Wyoming on Friday and also beat Northwest of Powell on Saturday. That's it in sports.
Where is the UW game being played?
Laramie.
Okay, good. Now, but last time I asked you about it, I really didn't get an answer as to whether they got this or not.
I think Wyoming win this one too.
Okay.
San Diego State's not very good.
Okay.
Then again, neither is Wyoming.
Well, yeah.
But
okay.
And it's all like since they had last week off, it's like this.
Yeah.
If you play well after a week off, then you're fresh.
Okay, good.
And if you do not play well after a week off,
you suck.
You're rusty.
Okay, now how are those injured players doing?
Well, some of them are not going to be. Some won't be playing.
Okay, I think that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah.
Not like I know what I'm talking about, but
maybe you're getting closer.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Coming up, I was guessing, okay? Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Got a quick guest in the 8 o'clock hour. Then we get into open phones and some more interesting topics that are coming out of left field that you haven't even been thinking about, but I got them for you. And your phone calls, of course. Wake Up Wyoming. What? .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Junebug Berry Muffins. Are they berries? Are they June bugs? Are they either? Taste and find out.
I don't care. You just had me at berry muffins. I'll go from there. Okay. Already it is time to start thinking about those holidays, which you thought were a year away, but the year's almost over. So let's talk about Toys for Tots over in Albany County. Kate Morgan's on the phone with me right now. I can't believe we're having this conversation already, Kate. Yeah, well, I mean, suddenly the year just disappears on us. So Albany County... And as I'm reading the flyer here, this is VFW Post 2221, hosting a breakfast for Albany County. Okay, now, you had me at biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, there'll be a great menu. Scrambled eggs, hash browns, biscuits, gravy, sausage, pancakes. It's coming up this Sunday, October 13th, and we'll be open from 7 a.m. to noon. It's $10 for the breakfast. All proceeds go to Toys for Tots, and on top of breakfast, there'll be door prizes, raffle baskets, and a 50-50 drawing. So it should be a lot of fun. You can bring out the whole family and have breakfast at the VFW and support Toys for Tots.
Okay, all goes for a great cause. I would assume that later on in the year, you continue collecting toys in other ways. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Toys for Tots group here is very active. They're at a lot of events. They're collecting toys. There'll be a lot more stuff coming out. So this is kind of a nice initial kickoff here in Albany County.
Okay. So, again, big pancake breakfast that they're planning there just to get things started. Then comes the fun, and we do the same thing here with Town Square Media in both Cheyenne and up in Casper, too, where they just set up a booth and let people just show up and, with whatever kind of unwrapped gift they can think of. That's always a good time. So, Albany County, where do people, in the end of all of this, where do the people end up picking up their toys? Do you donate to a different cause, or do you take care of it?
No, the Toys for Tots folks will collect the money, and they'll take care of buying the toys and getting them distributed. I mean, Toys for Tots has been around a long time, affiliated with the U.S. Marine Corps. Great program. They do a lot of good work.
How is it Sunday's already the 13th of October? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Oh, me too. And then it's going to be November, and then it'll be the holidays.
Oh, Lord.
But,
okay.
Coming fast.
Okay, so 7 a.m. till 12 p.m., open to the public.
Yep.
Where do they need to go if they're in Albany County? Where do they find this breakfast?
The VFW post, it's on East Garfield Street, right at East Garfield and 22nd in Laramie. Easy to find.
I'll keep reminding people as we get closer.
All right.
All right, thank you, Katie, for calling in. Let's take a look at that menu again real quick here. Breakfast will include biscuits and gravy. Now, I'm picky about biscuits and gravy. Okay, so I'll let you know. But it's biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs, hash browns, sausage patties, pancakes. And there will be an open purchase for bar for whatever kind of drinks. But I would assume that would be later in the morning, unless you want to show up at 7 a.m. and start drinking then. And then, of course, they have all sorts of door prizes, raffles, stuff like that. So that's if you're in Albany County, head to your VFW post, and that's going to be this Sunday starting at 7 o'clock for Toys for Tots. Okay, now, wait, before I get into this, let me go ahead and call this up. I do this every morning at this time. It's the most dangerous time on the air for this radio program. It's open phones.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave. All right, strap in and let's do this thing.
888-97 was the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. A couple of house cleaning items here locally in Wyoming. We are still under a smoke alert for a good part of the state, and that's the big fires we have in Wyoming are a big cause of that. And that smoke is just lingering because it's not being blown out of the area and won't be anytime soon. And thanks to all of the firefighters who arrived in Chugwater, Wyoming yesterday, if you want to see some really interesting pictures and video of this, friends of mine in Chugwater were sending it to me last night, and I was posting it as they were sending me stuff, which, by the way, kept me up past my bedtime, but I'm okay. They have a lot of really interesting pictures and video of a fire moving. If you know how to drive through Chugwater, let's say you're heading north on I-25 above Cheyenne there, and suddenly the road has these buttes that lift up on either side because a river cut into the landscape. And there's a big S-turn through these buttes. And there's Chugwater, the town of. And so the fire was coming down off of the bluffs and down toward the town. Suddenly, firefighters are showing up on the ground, airplanes flying over, dropping slurry ahead of the fire so the fire couldn't continue on. They had it out, but it got kind of close to the town. So if you want to see pictures of that, you go to the Wake Up Wyoming site, and we have them there. All of the people who were sending pictures and video while it was happening, and they really, I'm just so impressed how quick they put out the fire, but also how fast those fires can spread and how high the flames can get, even though it's just grass. If we go back to the phones. 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me. Off to Mills, Wyoming. Hey, Jude.
Hey, we did that planning and zoning meeting last night for the solar farm proposal out by my other place.
Okay.
And I wanted to thank everybody that came in because we had the room full. We had it full. And everybody had a new point to put up on the chopping block there. Water, fire suppression, traffic on the roads, things like that. All three of my other neighbors voted against it as well, said no. In fact, the only ones that voted for was the landowner that's wanting the solar farm and the company man that wants to put it in. Well, we got some pretty good information out of it. I mean, just by asking questions. We didn't know well, Jeanette Ward found where this company, what's it called? Infinity. They're 40% owned by Japanese companies. And you know how we feel about foreigners owning anything on our land. Anyway, we got a hold of the proposal. It was 533 pages. Rose and I went through it till like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we worked up some good bullet points. What got me a little upset is I couldn't believe this. You know how I fight for that 5-minute rule when you go to a meeting?
Right.
Hal Hutchinson has planning and zoning at 3 minutes. You can't even go pee in 3 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to talk to the commissioners about it. If I have to, I'll file a formal complaint. But we got it tabled. And I got them to put it on the website where people can download it or read it in PDF form. They should have done that to begin with before they even entertain the idea of passing this. And we can go back to the same 2022 land use plan that was adopted illegally, and they played with it then, too, on this. The gravel pit, you know what I mean? Some of this stuff is just too hokey to even say differently than it was a planned attack. Anyway, we were talking about the GoldenEye Reservoir. It's only 4.5 miles away.
Right.
Casper Creek runs right through it. But I wanted to tell you, everybody did a good job. You know, but when Dana and I applied for our auto reduction yard out there, we had to drain all the oil out of his cars and trucks. We had to get rid of all the batteries. And then we had to turn around and scrape the ground and put up a berm.
Right.
And I said, you're going to let this one come in? That's no, right?
Right. Well, I'm glad you guys got that thing tabled. Does anything happen after this, or is it done?
No, it's just tabled until November,
Okay.
what is it, 15th or 12th?
Okay.
The 12th. And then it'll be another meeting of that, and we'll present some more stuff that we find, and then it will go to county commissioners if it passes out of zoning.
Okay.
And we're going to try to stop it in the zoning stages because nobody out there wants it. People spoke loud and clear. Person after person after person came up with all the thousands of reasons we don't need a huge solar farm 24 miles from any way to suppress fire.
Right.
And that even if a water truck could get there, you can't put out lithium batteries with water.
Right. Now, on that note, I just sent you something on your Facebook Messenger. So I came across this story yesterday, and then I did a little bit more research and did a post about it today. So there was a big solar farm in Oregon, 33,000 panels, and it was starting grass fires.
Yep.
And the story will explain why it was starting grass fires. Okay. And then I started to wonder, well, what about wind farms? Do they start fires? Well, yes, and I came up with a whole list of ways that wind farms will start fires as well. And one of the suggestions by a wind turbine manufacturer, which I thought was really funny, was they suggest that you don't put wind turbines up in a dry environment that has a lot of tall grass and is windy.
Well, gee, I wonder why they're in Wyoming.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that story, the stories that I sent you is about the wind turbines, but there's a link in there about the
I
solar
think I
panels
saw
as
it
well. Yeah.
On the K2 page, I was going to read it. You know, one thing about all of this is Boysen Reservoir. Now, they're going to have to get water from somewhere because that's how they defrost, is they use antifreeze. None of the planners knew that. None of the planners had actually read this 533 monstrosity yet. So how can you pass something if you haven't read it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you're supposed to, like Nancy Pelosi said, you have to pass it in order to find out what's in it.
Yeah, exactly. But Rose did a great presentation. I did a little wiggy, you know me. And I walked up to the screen and I said, you see that? This solar farm here? That's my house right there.
Yeah.
And then the next neighbor tells them, well, my house is next to it over here. And then, so we've got them, all four of us around that place that is not in favor of this.
Okay.
So I think we may have a chance of beating this and getting it killed because nobody wants to look at solar farms.
Right.
You know, we got out there. What about our wells? Where's the water going to be discharged to? It's going to go in our aquifer. Or it's going to end up in Seminole, what is it? Oh, say it? Goldeneye Reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever seen what solar farms expel, I'll send you a picture.
Yeah.
It is some of the gunkiest stuff you ever saw. We can't let that go into our water system.
Okay.
Ultimately, the Platte River. And ultimately, the Platte River.
All right. Well, thanks. I'm glad you won round one. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate your call, and we got a lot more fighting to do on this. But no, some people, it's not against being against solar altogether. It's some of these massive farms and where they want to put them.
Solid, respectable Republican business. That's what makes America, Harley.
My folks were Democrats, John.
Yeah, and look where it got you. A lifetime on the range and sweating in the summer and freezing in the winter and sleeping on the ground and fighting the wolves and the rattlesnakes. No, Harley. There can't be a finer calling in the whole world than being a Republican businessman.
I don't like to dispute you, Don, but didn't you always vote Democratic?
Yeah, well, that was when I didn't know any better. Harley, I want you to do me a favor. You don't tell anybody here in Cheyenne I ever voted Democratic. You'll do that for me, won't you?
If you say so.
Thank you.
John, you don't mind if I still vote Democratic, do you?
Just so long as you're not seen with me when you do it.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:25 is the time. Off we go to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Micah has been patiently waiting by. Morning, Micah.
Good morning. You know, when I heard about the Chugwater thing yesterday, of course, it's been on my mind. And you know what I think maybe would be a good idea, since their population is not that huge.
Right.
But you've got some pretty innovative folks out there and plenty of land out there. It would really maybe behoove them for not only fires, but God forbid there's ever a tornado or super high winds or whatever, to just build an underground community center.
You know,
I started thinking about that because when we moved out here, that was one of the first things that Fritz put in was an underground range, actually.
Yeah.
But he set it up so that, you know, we could also use it in case of a tornado or this or that. And then I started thinking, okay, you got I-25, so that fire was right there by I-25.
Yes. Yeah.
If they ever shut down that portion, and I think they did for a little while yesterday, and then, as far as I know, there's only a couple more places where you can actually escape from Chugwater.
Yeah.
So unless you really know the back roads and everything, so if people really got stuck or any of those other roads, you know, were shut down also maybe for other fires or whatever, you know, they could be in the perfect spot just to be overcome by
just
flames.
run into the walls around them over there. And now you might know this. If you went up to top of the buttes there are some old missile silos, and a few of them are for sale, Micah.
Ah.
Yeah, so you could go ahead. There are quite a few people who bought old missile silos. One guy turned it into a business where he actually works on rocket motors. It actually does that up
some
there.
people, there's a whole section of them, too, where people are using them as houses.
Yes, and there are some people up there on top of above Chugwater that have purchased these old missile silos and turned them into homes. Now, these are not the kinds of missile silos that go deep. This is the kind the missile would have stood up. So it's about 50 feet underground, but the missile would have stood up, from a laying down position and then fired. But still, I mean, what a neat place. But I think you're talking about if someone's in downtown Chugwater, they can run right into the side of the mountain and hide.
Sure. Well,
okay. So I would say that you go.
I guess they could build a little tunnel.
Yes, they could. Well, and I would say go ahead and start that as a business for conspiracy theorists. Here's a little Wyoming town that not many people ever stop at. And if the big one ever happens, all they have to do is go like a quarter mile into the side of a bluff, and they can hide. Right. Tin hats included in the deal.
Well, I mean, not only for that, but, what if we did have an EMT attack or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, that little thing, it could be just like the old bomb shelters that you probably remember, too, from Florida days. And, I mean, those things were stocked with everything.
Yep.
If the weather got bad, they had their own little ways of keeping it warm or keeping it cool enough. And there's smart people out there. They could figure all that stuff out.
Okay.
So
now
anyway,
there's your new business.
What crossed my mind.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And part of the reason she called about that is if you didn't see it, and I got pictures of it and video. Yesterday, Chugwater, Wyoming, which is a cute little town, along with some beautiful buttes that rise up around it because the river cut through. And they had a fire there yesterday that was coming right down off of the interstate, right toward the town. And it was put out before it really got to them. I mean, it was a close call there. That's what made her think about that and call in. Also, I would like to know for fishermen out there, Chugwater's got that river that runs right through the middle of it. Anyone know about fishing down there? Because it seems to me that would be a great place to start a business to take people fly fishing as a guide. But all right, coming up on some local news, weather forecast, more open phones. Wake Up Wyoming.
Watson. Listen to Glenn Woods anywhere you roam with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Back to the phones we go. We're a former gubernatorial candidate here in the state of Wyoming, Brent Bien, is on the line with Rich Weber in tow. What is Amendment A? Good morning, Brent.
Hey, Glenn. Good morning. Thanks for having both Rich and I on this morning. And, we just wanted to get out there to discuss a little bit about this Amendment A to our Constitution that's going to be on the 2024 Wyoming general election ballot here on the 5th of November. And we wanted to get the word out for folks that this is not a good bill. And really, we wanted to discuss that with you this morning.
Okay, so let's break it down for those people who've never heard of it before. What exactly are they proposing here? And we'll start with that. Then let's get into why you think it's a bad idea.
Okay. And, Rich and I could tag team this one, but basically what it does is it breaks out residential property as its own class of property for taxation purposes. And, of course, just doing that alone is against the Constitution because the Constitution simply says that you cannot break out any more classes than the ones we currently have. So what it will better give the legislature the opportunity to tax the folks, and it also allows them to further subcategorize properties for taxes in the long run. So, in a state where we're getting taxed so much right now, this is not a good idea, and it provides no tax relief, I tell you, this thing has not been advertised at all out there. It's just going to be on the ballot And we're trying to get the information out there on what this thing actually is.
Okay,
Go
Rich
ahead, Rich, if
Weber.
you want to add.
Rich Weber, it sounds to me, I'm a guy who likes to do things in an uncomplicated way. In fact, I even wrote a book called The Uncomplicated Life. And it sounds to me like we're taking a tax system that's already so complicated most people don't understand it, and we're trying to make it more complicated with the idea that it'll actually fix a problem.
Exactly. Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Life is good.
Woohoo! Well, Brent still wants to use your airplane.
Yeah. By the way, I tried that the other day, and I got just a little bit north of Casper up to the Muddy Mountain VOR, turned the plane around, and all I could see was the ground below me. That's how bad the smoke is right now. But Brent, you and I are going. We're going, Brent. Okay.
Yeah, we're 10 miles from that, and they got it stopped right now, but it's kind of if we're packed up, ready to run.
Okay. All right, but
this constitutional amendment is bad because the Constitution was written to restrict government, not to enable them to tax people to death. And we can't even get tax relief in the state now. We can't get a bill past the governor's signature. We ran 30 bills in the last 24 months, and they don't even have the ability to override the governor's veto. But now we're tinkering with the Constitution, and this is bad because the legislature already has the constitutional authority to tax. And as Brent just alluded to, the Constitution says you can have no additional classes. You cannot make any more separations, and they've never amended the Constitution to remove that. So this constitutional amendment is going to go to court just as soon as it gets passed. And we're going to spend millions of taxpayer dollars fighting in the court over whether this thing's even legal. The simple thing to do is vote no on this. And the other part I would say is, as you know, we have this petition going around the state to cut the assessed value of property taxes by 50%. And people are confusing this amendment with that tax initiative, and they're not the same thing.
Okay. So, Brent, for those people who don't know, and you're getting an idea of what we're talking about, and I have talked about Amendment A a couple more times before you called on this program. But for those people who'd like more information on Amendment A, is there any place they can go to have a look at it?
There is. We're going to post more information on Wyoming voter initiatives, and we have a presentation that was actually given yesterday in Buffalo that we're going to put up there. We've been posting it all over Facebook, and just some snippets on what's going on here. One thing I really want to throw out there too, Glenn, is Rich hit spot on. This is not the people's initiative to reduce residential property tax by 50% of assessed value for the primary residents of Wyoming residents. It is not, and that will go on the 2026 ballot. Okay, what we're talking about, as you know, is this Amendment A that's going to be on the 24 ballot. And one other point I want to bring up here, too, is ever since back in the late 80s when we had the constitutional amendment, and we're kind of getting 1980s again here, we had the constitutional amendment to change the state examiner to the state auditor. When that happened in the late 80s there, those auditory authorities, and I'm talking about budgetary primarily because this is all about money here, those authorities were delegated to the legislature, the authorities and responsibilities to do audits. Now, there was an audit committee formed way back when, and there's no record of these guys formally meeting, and we have not had a complete budgetary audit in this state, wall-to-wall, since 1989, 1990.
It's been a
so
long
we
time.
have no idea how much money it really takes to run this state, and now they want to tinker with the Constitution. So there's a principle thing here along with the constitutionality thing here and everything else going on with it. So anyway, I want to throw that out there.
Okay.
Hey, Glenn,
yes.
one quick thing people need to understand about this Amendment A, it has a clause in it that says this is for a owner-occupied residence, which means if you have another building on your property, a mother-in-law apartment that you get a little supplemental income from or another outbuilding, they're going to be taxed at the commercial rate, and they will raise those taxes to fill in any other hole that they create.
Yeah.
So it's going to increase your taxes, and it's going to, by changing the footprint of your property so that only your residence that you physically live in could get an exemption, but this is not tax relief or tax reform. This is just the coulda, woulda part of it.
Right.
But what it does, it isolates your property. It just carves out your house. So if you have a barn or a shop or anything else, it can be taxed at a completely separate rate because this specifically says owner occupied.
Right. Which makes things a whole lot more complicated than it was, which is what I was saying. If you want to fix something, you don't do it by making it more complicated. You make it less complicated. Brent and Rich, I got to let you go for the next caller that I have coming up here, but thanks for calling in. They're way up around the Story area, which is where close to where the elk fire is. Now let's go all the way down to the other side of the state and talk to Mark Armstrong, who's in Centennial, which is almost on the Colorado border. Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Good, sir. What you got?
Well, I got a problem.
Okay.
So, we're pushing back on the lack of voter integrity in Albany County.
Yeah.
And so complaints have been filed, and now the first line of defense against voter fraud is poll watchers.
Right.
Who sit in, and these are volunteers. They donate their time to make sure that we have clean elections.
Mm-hmm.
And in retaliation, possibly, what else can it be? Our Albany County clerk has decided to deny any use of poll watchers in Albany County.
Okay.
So we cannot have poll watchers in Albany County because, I haven't got an explanation from her about it. And we filed our list the same way we've always filed our list. We didn't put a schedule with it because you can't really schedule volunteers. They come in, if they're on the list, they're a poll watcher.
Right.
So I'm very disappointed in our local clerk and her blatant.
So, real quick,
attempt.
with the time I have remaining here, because I'm up against the clock, so what are you going to do about it?
Well, I filed in district court yesterday.
Okay.
And so it's on a different issue. It's on a transparency and, and access to public records issue, but I don't see any way that this can stand.
Okay, so do me a favor then, because again, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just up against the clock. But if this moves forward, because you've filed a suit, call me back and let me know how it's working. I want to see how this plays through.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and I'm not sure what to do about it.
All right, let's try.
Okay, so
start drilling.
On the one hand, the temperature's been nice outside, and no wind, which is unusual for Wyoming this time of year, which is pleasant. However, that means that all the smoke that these fires are making just sits here.
I'm telling you, yesterday I saw clear skies.
No, I believe it. I did. Now, on the other hand, we can have wind that will blow the smoke out, but that makes for bigger fires.
Right.
That are hard to put out.
Very hard.
So.
And the other part of this is rain.
We don't have any rain.
Well, we don't have any rain.
Yeah.
And when it does rain and it puts out one fire and starts two more.
Yes, because the lightning. Now, if we get the kind of fall rain where it's not a thunderstorm like we get in the summertime, just those long soaking rains were good.
Who started that fire in Chugwater yesterday?
Don't know yet. That's been looked at with. I was asking people, because I know people in Chugwater, they're sending me pictures and video all day long.
It was right there.
Yes, and I was asking them what exactly started that, and the answer so far is don't know. But you got to hand it to the firefighters who showed up from both on the ground and above, dropping stuff.
Yeah.
They got that sucker out quick before it got to the town.
It was, the pictures I saw, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that got kind of close.
All righty, in college football, the Wyoming Cowboys will entertain San Diego State on Saturday afternoon in Laramie. The Aztecs are 2-3, and they really haven't scared anybody. They beat Hawaii last week 27-24, but before that, they lost to Oregon State 21-0. They lost to Cal 31-10. They lost to Central Michigan 22-21. Now, the Cowboys are 1-4 overall, 1-0 in Mountain West play after beating Air Force a couple of weeks ago, so the Pokes are coming off their bye week. The Aztecs are favored by a 1.5 in the game. That is a 1:30 kickoff on Saturday from Laramie. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. High school football in 4A coming up on Friday. It's the 60th annual Oil Bowl as Natrona will play at Kelly Walsh. Both teams are 3-3. Also on Friday will be the Capital Bowl as Cheyenne East at 5-1 will host 1-5 Cheyenne Central. Up in Gillette, Campbell County will take on Thunder Basin. Campbell County 6-0 and Thunder Basin is 2-4. Sheridan at 6-0 will host 3-3 Rock Springs, and Laramie at 1-5. They will be on the road at 0-6 Cheyenne South. In 2A, Bighorn, and the number 2 rated team in that classification, will be at Glen Rock on Friday, and Burns will host Upton Sundance in 1A 6-man. Second rate at Pine Bluffs will host number 3 Saratoga on Friday. In 6-man football, Matitsi will be on the road at KC on Friday afternoon at 1, and then Midwest will be at Riverside on Saturday. In Major League Baseball, in the playoffs yesterday in the National League, the New York Mets now lead Philadelphia 2-1 after a 7-2 win yesterday. Mets left fielder and Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo went 0-2 in that game, but he also walked twice. So Game 4 of that series is at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Also in the National League, San Diego beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 6-5 with 6 runs in the second inning. So the Padres lead that series 2-1, and Game 4 will be tonight at 7 p.m. In the American League, Cleveland will be at Detroit with that best-of-5 series even at a game apiece. That'll start at 1 o'clock, and then the New York Yankees will be at Kansas City, and that series is even at 1 game apiece. In college volleyball, the Wyoming Cowgirls lost at Colorado State last night, 23-25, 25-17, 25-20, and 25-21. The Cowgirls are 9-6 overall, 1-4 in Mountain West plays. They'll host San Diego State on Saturday. In junior college volleyball, Casper College is 5-18 on the year with a loss to Central Wyoming on Thursday, and a win over Gillette College on Saturday. They'll host LCCC on Friday. L-Trip's volleyball team is 8-14. They beat Central Wyoming and Powell in their last 2 matches. And that's it in sports.
You know, with some of your 6-man football teams, there's some schools in Wyoming, they could have a 1-man football team to go up against another school with just one other guy. So there's 2 guys on the field.
Right. Some of these enrollments are small.
Yes.
And then you're looking for how many kids will actually go out for football.
Well, and I've told you about this before in a small North Carolina town that I know about where they told this kid, oh, no, you're playing. He was big. You're playing.
And he played.
Yes, he did.
He didn't like it.
Wake up, Wyoming.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but
On what?
9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Junebug Berry Muffins. Are they berries? Are they June bugs? Are they either? Taste it, find out.
All I heard was berry muffins. After that, I'll have at it. You can just watch me as a guinea pig.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
At this point, you can't interrupt me, change the subject like a lot of people were doing in the last hour of the program, which is fine. I don't just give you open phones on Friday. Every day of the week, you get some open phones. at some point. That way you get a chance to vent, and venting makes you tolerable to be around. That's what, the show is therapy. I am your therapist. And let me remind you, as your therapist, what this situation is. This is a radio studio I'm in, which means the walls are padded. And then I have this phone system where you can call. So here's what's going on. I sit in a padded room and I talk to myself, and you are the voices in my head. So you see what I mean? We're all crazy. It's all therapy. Let's go back up to the Appalachian Mountains for a bit. And Helene survivors, they got that, or they're supposed to get $750 from your federal government. Like that means something, which is absolutely pathetic. Here's some money. Here's $750. What are they exactly supposed to do with that? But it's bigger than that. Apparently that money is also just a loan, right? But it's even a bigger problem than that. An exasperated South Carolina sheriff, the story says, slammed the Biden-Harris administration, offering Hurricane Helene survivors $750 in immediate relief funds, arguing it was nothing compared to what they gave Ukraine, and because it requires access to the internet to access it, and nobody has the internet up there right now. So your federal government turns to these people and says, here's $750. You can access it if you can get online and do all of what used to be called paperwork, but it's online now. And they'll deposit it into your account. And then you can use it on your card. Hey, federal government, FEMA, little clue here. Hey, Biden and Harris administration. The electricity is still down. The internet is down. Exactly how the hell are they supposed to do this? And by the way, when in a situation like this up in those mountains, like they're in right now, money doesn't really matter. They need stuff. That's what they need, stuff. Money is not as important anymore. You don't solve problems like this by throwing money at it, especially money they can't get to. Here's a quote. That lady that's running for president, that would be Harris, she talks about the $750. What about all of the money you gave to Ukraine? This is the sheriff talking, and all of those other people who really wanted to kill us and didn't want to do anything to help us. Why don't you just give that money to the people, to them, in other words, to the people up in the Appalachian Mountains? Which I would agree. Why the hell would you give money, in some cases even to our enemies, but not take that same money and just turn it over to your own American citizens who are really in rough shape and need? Now, I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. And I'm going to have my hand, because I haven't previewed this, so my hand's going to be over the dump button.
I was going to say something about Biden and Harris.
Yes, what were you going to say? Oh.
But I don't like to curse. I'm scared there'll be little ears listening.
Well, and you've been up here. You've been up here for how long?
Just 2 days.
2 days?
The sheriff hadn't left, and he's doing a fantastic job.
So what we have here is a lady who is interviewing a local sheriff.
Right. I mean, Sheriff, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for all you do. I'm going to definitely get this up on social media, and we're going live tonight with Sean Hannity. But if you had a message for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina, what would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just assume you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountain area and the foothills take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
No help. FEMA hasn't been helpful.
Wait a minute. That lady that's running for president talks about the $750. What about all that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us, don't want to do anything to help us? Why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned down for personal items.
Well, they talked about get on your phone or your computer. Do you not see what the devastation is? They don't have a phone or a computer.
There's nothing up here. There's no communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net.
So you see, this goes on for a bit, but you get the idea. So, okay, we're going to give you $750. Again, I don't know what $750 is really supposed to do, and they can't even get to it. So here's Jay and Casper. We all know that no one in the Biden-Harris administration can be bought for a paltry $750, so they think they are. That's a great point. If you were to go up to, because they extort so much money, go up to anyone in the Biden family, Biden administration, and offer them $750 for something, and they're going to look at you like you're insane. That's nothing. Okay, but you can go ahead and, what is that supposed to do, buy votes or something? How is that supposed to help? In which case, the sheriff has a really good point here. You don't even understand the situation. You want people to access $750. You're supposed to do this by getting online and filling out a bunch of forms online. How can they do that? There's no electricity. There's no internet. Their cell phones aren't working right now. So exactly how are they supposed to do that? And then as the lady said, and many people are being turned down, if they were able to try, they still get turned down. But let's say someone actually got the $750. Now, how are they supposed to spend it? Well, in order to spend it, you would have to have internet going, for example, telephone service, electricity. So they managed somehow to get it on their card. Now they finally found some place where they can go buy what they need, which there's nothing up there running. There's no place to spend the money. There aren't stores open. Where are they supposed to spend the $750? There's no place to spend it. So that's not going to work. But let's, for the fun of it, say they did find a place to spend the money. There's one store open somewhere. Well, I guarantee you they're cash only because there's no electricity, there's no internet, there's no cell phone. What are they supposed to do? But this was your federal government's response to this. Let's go ahead and send them each $750 down there, as if that was supposed to do something.
Do you have any history of mental illness in your family?
I have an uncle who does yoga.
Allergies?
Cowardice and weak-willed men. And hazelnuts.
Sexual history?
Epic and private.
Okay.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:20's time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Jerry, I see you there. Hang on, let me give people an announcement, then I'll get to you, Jerry. I-80 between Laramie and Rawlins, which is usually the place you expect to see a problem. Last time we had a problem there, it was jet fuel that was spilled. Now it says I-80 westbound between exit 267, Wagonhound Road, and Arlington. Road closed due to a crash. And that's all I have at this point. Keep you up to date on that. Somewhere in Wyoming is Jerry. Morning, Jerry.
Top of the morning to you, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
So, while I'm on hold waiting for you, the subject comes up that I'm calling about.
Okay.
All these fourth grade intelligence commercials from the Ad Council
right.
are screwing up the free market system on the radio because a small business probably can't afford to buy an ad because of our tax dollars being spent.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts. Okay. So what happens is your local radio stations are trying to fill those that there's a certain allotted time, because this program is on more than one radio station here. So when I take a commercial break, the commercial break is a certain length of time so the local stations can fill that time and rejoin me seamlessly, right? So what happens if they don't have enough ads to sell? I mean, they haven't sold enough ads to fill the break. So they throw in public service announcements, which come from your ad council, and they're free. They just, here's something free to run. It's a public service announcement. Put this in until you can sell a commercial to go in there.
My head is spinning.
Oh, okay.
The government is allowed to put up commercials by the ad council for free.
That's the part that gets me. I don't mind if, like, for example, if we have local charities that want some free time, absolutely, let's do that. And there's even some national charitable organizations, if they want some free time, Absolutely.
But
yeah, go ahead.
But let's say somebody wants to set up a restaurant at a wind farm and they want to advertise that on your program.
Uh-huh.
Can they afford to do it?
It depends on how much they're selling local ads for. I don't know. But I know that the ad council, we're just looking for something to put there. And so the ad council provides something free that we can drop in. That's it. But now, a lot of times, though, those ad council commercials, on the other end, not on our end, but on the other end, your federal government will subsidize the production of those. But then we just get those as free public service announcements as filler.
I have no more questions.
Okay.
Yep. I wish there would be more wind farm restaurants advertising.
I'm going to play that next because you said that, and I appreciate that you're paying attention. Here's what I would prefer, and I'm going to put it out there, Jerry, because you brought it up. This program and your local Wyoming radio stations that carry this program and other national programs would love for local charitable organizations to come on and record with us. We're always asking them, please come in and record. And I wish more of them would. That way, when you're listening to a commercial break and somebody didn't sell a commercial in that spot, you would hear a local charity with a local cause. And we keep begging local charities to do this. They don't take us up on it as much as I think they should.
How about a poor old man who can't afford the internet, so I listen to AM radio?
Okay.
Am I a charitable?
So, okay. So we need to do a public service announcement that Jerry needs your help. Would you like a donation jar that people can drive by and put money in?
No, I just want somebody to call and tell me how to build a really good AM antenna.
Well, there you go.
Stupid radio.
Okay, I appreciate it, Jerry. Thanks for the call, and I understand your concern. No, that happens a lot with radio stations all over the country. When I go into a commercial break, let's say it's just for the fun of it, it's a 3-minute commercial break. Okay, so between the program on my end and your local radio stations, there's 3 minutes to fill. But what happens if they didn't sell 3 minutes worth of ads? That's where they put in a public service announcement. We would love to fill it with local public service announcements. If you're a church or a civic group or whatever it might be, and you got a good cause, we will help you for free. And we're constantly asking people, would you come in and record with us so we can do that? And we don't get taken up on that as much as we should. Some people do, but I mean, all you got to do is come in and we'll help you out and get the word out about whatever the cause might be. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to run one of those national ones. Now, the commercial Jerry was talking about.
Jenkins! Yes, sir? Yes, sir?
Jenkins, I have an idea.
I'm afraid already, sir.
I want to open up a restaurant chain with the lowest cost overhead ever.
Oh, sir, that's nearly impossible in today's economy, and most new restaurants fail. You know that.
Locate each restaurant chain in the middle of wind farms. Then we serve fresh bird kill.
Wow! That really does cut costs. But won't PETA try to shut us down?
Oh, they can't object because all the food is provided by green and sustainable energy.
And since a lot of endangered birds are killed by wind turbines, you can say your menu is full of rare delicacies.
I see no downside to this.
Except that you can only be open when the wind is blowing, or you won't have fresh kill or power to cook
We
it.
can always have diesel backup generators to turn the turbines when the wind isn't blowing.
Sir, I really think this idea will finally lead this company into bankruptcy.
Oh, no. You see, since we're running on wind power and serving endangered species, we can apply for unlimited grants and subsidies. Who cares if we have any customers at all?
And I bet you're planning to staff the place with illegal immigrants.
Yes, and recent college graduates who can find a job to fit their degree. Now, how much do you think we'll get from the feds?
Sir, we're going to be rich.
What do you mean, we?
So, okay, update here, and thank you, Sonar from Rawlins, for letting me know, because I didn't know what exactly had happened. So it's usually the case if you're anywhere from Laramie all the way over to Rawlins, westbound lane, and that has been closed. Hang on now. Road conditions, I-80, they might be opening that. Okay, let me know, Sonar, what's happening, because clicking along here, and it still shows that the road is closed in some places, but are they fixing the problem? Apparently, according to Sonar and Rollins, on that westbound I-80, 3 trucks had crashed. Now, the last time we had a problem out there was because a truck with jet fuel had crashed, and they had to clean that up. But this is, he says 3 trucks have crashed there. So road closed due to crash, estimated. And they always say, it's going to take us 9 hours to clean it up. It never does, but that's what they say, and I understand how they extend that. So anyway, if you're out in that area and you do know what's going on, I just see what YDOT is posting to me, but I'd love to have more information about that. All right, coming up on some local news that we got to take care of. We're going to roll into that and an update on your weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. Plus, plenty of other text messages coming in about what I said about the $750 going to people up in Appalachia. I'm going to read those notes as well, but your phone calls at 888-97-WOODS if you want to jump in. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Start your day the right way. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
I'm with you. Just hang on. I'm looking up something real quick here. There we go. Setting something up because of a comment somebody made. So I was talking about the $750 that was sent by your federal government to people in Appalachia, which they can't get to because they would need to have electricity and phone service and internet service, which they don't have right now. And even if they could get to it, who are they going to buy from? You can go ahead and order online, but they can't get it up there. And anybody who has stores locally, the stores are devastated. What exactly are you supposed to do with $750 that you can't even get to? Makes no sense. So Rick and Cheyenne, and these are people, by the way, that are texting me off the Wake Up Wyoming app. All you got to do is hit the chat option. The app is free to download at your app store under Wake Up Wyoming. So Rick says $750 is nothing more than a Happy Meal. Oh, and by the way, the McDonald's washed away. So he's right.
Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get started for you today?
Yeah, can I just get a cheeseburger?
Okay, is that going to be offered today?
Yeah, it's going to be offered today.
All right, it's going to be $378.19.
Actually, I don't need the cheese. You can take the cheese off.
No cheese?
Yeah, let's do no cheese. No cheese.
All right, that brings your total down to $312.17.
That sounds better. All
right, and are you going to be paying in full or will you be financing?
Yeah, I'll be financing today.
Okay.
Let's do the finance.
All right, and after interest, your total will be $61 a month for 6 months.
All right.
First window, please. Thank you.
Yeah, see, the problem, though, he's right. That it doesn't matter. Even if you got the $750, there's no McDonald's anyway. It was washed away. Michelle in Cheyenne. Amazon, Glenn. What a crock our government is. Greg, also in Cheyenne, says, in the wake of Helene, the Biden-Harris FEMA has proven to be as useful as tits on a bowl, which you're absolutely right. Which, and for those people who are worried, how are those people? Trust me, they're going to get a chance to vote. They'll still find a way to vote. Okay, we have time to set that up still. These people are not going to be happy with the response. So anybody who may have voted for Biden-Harris before now having serious second thoughts about it. Jay in Casper says, but we all know that no one in the Biden-Harris administration can be bought for a paltry $750. So what do they think we are? Yeah, it's not really going to, it doesn't do anything except show how out of touch an administration like this really is. Now, in the meantime, let's swing back to Wyoming, Cowboy State Daily Story. Rural Wyomingites, a.k.a., and I like this name, Hotshot Hillbillies, helped save the 1887 Double Rafter Ranch. So these guys, they're just local residents, and they know about fire season out here in Wyoming, and so they're just ready. And while we do have the National Forest Service and all these other agencies that'll come in and fight fires, What happens when something sparks up locally and you're waiting for those guys to arrive? I mean, you want to catch the fire before it gets too out of control, right? All right. Story says the Double Rafter Ranch, 1890s, red barn, still standing on Pass Creek Road near Parkman, northern Wyoming. Saved from the Elk Creek fire by a mix that is part miracle and part moxie on part of the firefighters, some of them residents that have taken to calling themselves the hillbilly hotshots. The latter ranch, who have outfitted their own trucks with water tanks, determined to patrol ranches, and what they're looking for is not to fight the big fire, they're looking for the hot spots. So if they see something that's a hot spot, they go ahead and jump in there and do what they can to put those hot spots out, trying to stay out of the way of the real firefighters that'll show up. And these guys have done a lot of good out there, and those are the kind of people that we're looking for. Greg sends me this note. Did you see the story where FEMA sent 3 pallets of electric chainsaws to an area without electricity? Really? Really, Greg? I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I thought about this when the storm had just hit, and we didn't, because none of us saw this coming up in Appalachia. You know, the storm just hit, and here comes all of this equipment in. We needed bulldozers and backhoes. We needed chainsaws. We need all this heavy equipment to come in and clear things out, get work done. And also we need to rebuild utility poles and get the electricity back in and put up the cell service again. And all of the heavy equipment that got in there, not one vehicle was an electric vehicle. Can you guess why? We need gas, we need diesel. Now, Florida is being hit. I mean, it's just starting to happen in Florida. And, you know, they're going to go through all sorts of power outages and problems like that. And what's going to come in to help them out? No one is showing up with electric vehicles or electric backhoes or anything else to help out after this is done. We need diesel. We need gasoline. Now, a while ago, I wouldn't say which one, but I was in one of those big box stores, hardware store, and I just needed to pick up some items. And as I'm leaving, I'm walking by where they have displayed all of their lawnmowers and chainsaws and weed whackers and et cetera, et cetera. And everything they had there was electric. And so I got curious and I started to look around. Where's the gas-powered stuff? Well, they don't have any anymore. And I thought, well, that's not going to help me. I mean, that's fine if I have a small lawn and maybe some little bushes to trim. Okay. But you get beyond that, that's not going to work, especially in a pinch. We get a big storm in Wyoming. A big blizzard blows in, something like that, and the power goes out. What exactly am I supposed to do here? Really? Jones and Casper, good article, Glenn, on wind and solar. Appreciate that. You guys can check that out on the Wake Up Wyoming website, where I started yesterday with this, how wind and solar can start fires. Wind farms and solar farms have started fires. And we have so many fires going on right now, we really don't need that. And they keep building more wind and solar farms. 9:43, Wake Up.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
$9:48's the time. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox to talk to Frank Gambino. Okay, so Frank, temporarily, I have brought the candy bowl that I put out there in the decorated hallway for Halloween into my studio, right?
You know what was the best thing in there, and I didn't even know they still made these?
Yeah.
Milk duds.
Now, okay, that's exactly, you hit exactly what I'm going to do here. Okay.
Milk duds is the bomb.
I said that I was going to go through and pull out what I thought was the best candy for you guys. Now, these, I disagree. They have like these little Reese's cups here, and they're tiny.
No, they're good.
Okay.
Because you know what? You throw those in the freezer. You got to have those cold.
No. But what they say, it's a tiny little Reese's cup, and it says fun size. Okay.
Yeah.
Frank, no. When you take a look at the size that says like for the M&Ms, shareable, I'm not sharing that with anyone. That to me is the fun size.
Well, yeah. They're the same.
Okay.
It's marketing.
Okay, so let's go through what's going to be the last stuff left in here, because I don't put the junk in. There's, those hard candies are always the last ones.
No, I don't like those.
No, okay. So let's see. I don't have any of those. How about Whoppers?
They're okay.
They're okay. So that might be some of the last stuff I have in Whoppers. You approve of the Milk Duds?
Oh, totally.
Okay, totally. Okay. I have the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups?
Yes,
Okay.
approve.
Now, Almond Joy.
Pass. I don't like coconut.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I will be eating the hell out of these then.
They're all yours.
Oh, my God, yeah. Okay. Just your regular but small Hershey's Milk Chocolate Bar.
Approve.
Kit Kat.
Approve.
Oh, yeah, I really approve of the Kit Kat. And I got different sizes of Kit Kats in here, too. There's the single one, and then there's the double stuff one. The fake plastic eyeballs.
I tried to take a bite out of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't candy.
No, it's not.
Why didn't you tell me that?
It's not, no.
I thought it was one of those mushy kind of white chocolate things.
It's more like a ping pong ball that's decorated to look like an eyeball. Yeah, okay. But how did it taste? Probably like a ping pong ball, because that's what it is.
Plain. High school football coming up on Friday will be the 60th annual Oil Bowl, as Kelly Walsh will host Natrona and Casper. Both teams are 3-3. Coming up on Friday, Cheyenne East will host Cheyenne Central in the annual Capital Bowl, and East is 5-1, Central is 1-5. Laramie at 1-5. They will be on the road in Cheyenne on Friday to take on Cheyenne South. Campbell County at 6-0. They will be in Gillette to take on Thunder Basin, who comes in at 2-4, and Sheridan at 6-0. They will host 3-3 Rock Springs. In 2A football coming up on Friday, Bighorn, the second-rated team in the classification, will be at Glenrock, and then Burns will host Upton Sundance. In 9-man football, second-rated Pine Bluffs will host third-rated Saratoga on Friday, and then in 1A 6-man, Meeteetse will be at KC on Friday afternoon, and Midwest will be at Riverside on Saturday night. In college football, the Wyoming Cowboys will meet San Diego State in Laramie on Saturday afternoon. The Aztecs are 2-3. And they're just a mediocre team, so there looks to be beatable by Wyoming. And they did beat Hawaii last week, 27-24, but lost to Central Michigan, 22-21. Before that, they lost to Cal, 31-10, and lost to Oregon State before that, 21-0. Now, the Cowboys are 1-4 overall, but 1-0 in Mountain West play after beating the Air Force a couple of weeks ago. They're coming off their bye week. We'll see how they play. It is a 1:30 start on Saturday at War Memorial Stadium. We hear that on K2 Radio and KOWB in Laramie. The Pokes are a 1.5 underdogs in the contest. Major League Baseball playoffs. First of all, in the National League yesterday, the New York Mets over Philadelphia 7-2. So the Mets lead that series 2-1, and Mets left fielder and Cheyenne native Brandon Nimmo went 0 for 2, but he walked twice. And Game 4 of that series will be at 3 p.m. this afternoon. Also in the National League, San Diego over the Los Angeles Dodgers 6-5 with 6 runs in the second inning. So the Padres lead that series 2-1. Game 4 will be tonight at 7 p.m. In the American League, Cleveland will be at Detroit in that best-of-5 series at 1 p.m. with the series even at a game apiece. And the New York Yankees at Kansas City, and that series is even at 1 game apiece, and that'll be starting at 5 p.m. And in college volleyball at the Division I level, the Wyoming Cowgirls lost to Colorado State in Fort Collins last night in 4 sets, 23-25, 25-17, 25-20, and 25-21. Cowgirls are 9-6 overall and 1-4 in Mountain West play. They will host San Diego State coming up on Saturday at 7 p.m. Casper College volleyball team 5-18 after a loss to Central Wyoming on Thursday and win over Gillette College on Saturday. They will host LCCC this Friday, and the LCCC volleyball team from Cheyenne 8-14. They beat Central Wyoming on Friday, and they also defeated Northwest DePaul on Saturday. So they have won their last 2 matches in a row. That's in sports.
So here's the advantage you have with the candies that are here.
Yeah, I'm here early.
Yes, well, yeah,
it's like garage sales.
Oh yeah, and you can just
early
have
birds.
Frank, it's there for everybody to enjoy. So you have as much as you want. Here's the advantage everybody has. When I was young, I could have just gone to town on this stuff. But as I get older, I'm losing my sweet tooth.
Well, it does diminish.
It does. So,
but mine has, there's still it's addictive, to be honest with you.
It can be, yeah. So while you were, I had those Almond Joys with the coconut and the almond in them. I used to love. While you were talking, I tried one of them.
Not so good, huh?
I don't like them anymore.
I never liked them in the beginning.
I just am losing my sweet tooth here. So I bought all of this candy, and I really won't be having any of it, Frank.
It's okay. Bring out more.
Yes.
We'll take it.
You'll go ahead and take that bullet for me?
Yeah, we'll take it off your hands. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.